Welcome back to a Deeper Dig Conversation Series, episode 39. Today I'm with my brother, the guy who, I've been knowing for the longest time, and he's a creative. He really likes to showcase all types of creativity within his work. Devon, it's an absolute pleasure, man.
What's up? How you doing?
It's been good, man. It's been good.
What's going on, arabbitshole?
So we're just gonna get into it right away. And one of the first things that I would like to ask you is how would you describe yourself professionally and creatively?
That's a good question. I feel like professionally, I am someone that is always going to work hard. For those that don't know, I have two sides. I'm someone that's in the creative field of writing, but I'm also in the creative field of tech. And so I try to keep a fine line between both. Professionally, I just love to learn and love to always expand my knowledge. I believe, especially being in the realm of tech, where tech is consistently evolving and growing and maturing, you have to stay afloat and you have to continue to gain that knowledge. So I think professionally, I'm always someone that's gonna, in the words of one of my old managers, always act like, it sounds weird, but always act like you're the dumbest in the room. Not saying that you're not intelligent enough to have those conversations, but always be inquisitive about learning about new knowledge. I would say creatively, I'm somebody that is kind of meshing and blending, not yinging and yanging my professional life with it, but I'm also someone that is inquisitive, but also willing to take on different ideas and different perspectives. And no matter what type of form of creativity I'm doing, from writing to directing to even being an author, I'm somebody that is always down to learn and hear out people, because you can't just go off your own intuition with creativity. You always get your spark from somewhere. So I believe that I have to always remain open to new ideas.
Yeah, and you just released Black Raven, which, showcases that side of your creativity. And so just explain more about the process. How did it come to be, and just the overall feeling that you have when releasing it?
Yeah. For Black Raven, it's kind of funny, but not funny. It's I've always been a creative person. I was originally an artist. I like to sketch. I had a whole sketchbook back in the day. And one day I just gave up on it because I got bored, and I was like, well, I'm in middle school. So I kind of just stopped. And that's when I got into poetry in high school and in college. That's when I started to dabble into writing, but it wasn't really concrete. And then COVID happened, and I was kind of just going through this process of picking up old habits. And, I've always been a bird fan. I'm a bird watcher. I love birds with a passion. So it's I want to write a story about a raven. And I really didn't understand what I wanted to be the plot about. And I was like, what about a unique raven that wanted to be like a dove? Because the parrots were originally going to be doves. And, it was going to be a fine line between dealing with race. But I had one of my mentors of my book tell me, I don't know for your first book if you should talk about something like that. And originally I was like, what animal is going to replace a dove? And I was like, parrots, because they have these vibrant colors, and they're really unique in the way their mannerisms are. And so what about I create this beef between the ravens, who, have all these black feathers, to the parrots that have all of these vibrant colors within their feathers. And I was working on it throughout the pandemic. I got it published. I published, for those that know, for all the book talk people, on Wattpad. I published it on Wattpad for free, October 31st. And I did Halloween for a specific reason. And I wouldn't say it blew up or anything like that, but it was trending on Wattpad, one of the top 15 newest books to read. And I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. And that's when I decided to get published, I think April 9th, 2021. At the time, I was just a college student, and our mom paid the fee for me to actually get it licensed. So, that was a good while ago. And, I know I'm rambling, but I ended up, maybe 2 years ago, deciding I wanted to come out with a film for it. And we could talk about that a little bit later on the rises and falls of that. But Black Raven just came up from a place of love. It came from a place of understanding, came from a place of just wanting to let people know that it's okay to be different. And in the words of one of my homies, not letting outside forces determine your inner worth as a person.
Yeah, and just talking more about not just the book, but about you as a creative. I feel like, just seeing you, like you get inspired by a lot of different topics and it can range from all over. But who are some creatives you feel like inspire you and fuel you on a daily basis?
Oh man. There's so many. I have so many genres that I follow, but I always start out with I was gonna use your full government name, but
Don't use the government.
I'm gonna say the creator of Arabbitshole and the team of arabbitshole. I think that a lot of things that you guys do well, and I'm not glazing, but I think the color coordination of how you guys move and operate and how detail organized you are, that's something that I carry into my personal life. Like, I get inspiration from my girlfriend, obviously, but, sticking on the topic of a rabbit's hole, I just like how consistent you guys are and how well branched you guys are and how, not to be corny, but how you guys really dig into the meat and potatoes of someone's work. So I always pay your flowers and I always pay your dividends with that. But outside of that, I have so many creatives I look to. Obviously, Ryan Coogler, Bay Area's finest, I look up to with so much passion. He changed the game for a lot of Bay Area creatives, from Fruitvale Station to Black Panther. I'm wearing the Black Panther shirt right now to, obviously his new movie Sinners, and just, dissecting the way he comes across problems and the way he comes across filmmaking is huge. And I pay homage to the late Chadwick Boseman, Howard alum, someone that I look to as, a kind of like a guide on how to navigate film and industry. I look up to so many animated creatives, people, that have created shows like Dragon Ball Z, Fairy Tail, Naruto, people that have created like Yasuke. I have so many different outlets of creativity, but I just try to soak up as much knowledge as I can get. Even if I can get knowledge from a tree, I'm willing to learn.
Yeah, knowledge of a tree. I mean, that's, even though it was like the ending piece, I think that's like so impactful just because you can kind of see how things grow. You can kind of see how things develop. And I think like, nature, like I mentioned, is such like a big factor of like what we do because you can kind of capture a lot. Just off of your environment. So
yeah, I love nature, but I have allergies, man. So March through June, I'm cooked, bro. I'm gonna be sneezing, coughing. If I didn't have allergies and I didn't get nerfed with that, I would be out here in these hikes, man. But
yeah, and so I want to talk about the process of just, making Black Raven from the film aspect and, just you as an independent animator, like what were some of the challenges? What were some of the successes, the pros and cons, and just the overall journey that you can talk about with just creating the film?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's a very detail-oriented question. I feel like when I first started out, I feel like I wouldn't say it was on a whim. It wasn't like one of those things where I woke up and I was like, oh, I'm gonna make a film. Like, that's not how it goes. Like, I kind of just like, I had this ambition since like year 2 of Black Raven's conception, but I didn't think I could do it. I didn't think I had the money, the resources, or even the motivation to do it. I was just like, I'm not big enough to do it. I don't have the money. But I don't know what clicked in me. But I was like, let me just give it a go. And so I had no idea about the process, bro. Like I had no idea. Like I was just like, I was part of so many different Discords and so many different chats. So I'm just like, I'm Googling how to make a film. Yeah. And luckily enough, I have great mentors. Like he's one of my inspirations, Tony Veritas. He's my fraternity brother. He's a huge inspiration. Bryce Miguel. He's one of my homies from Southern. Rodney Purney. He's one of the people that actually inspired me to make one of the key inspirations to help me make a film. And so I'm just blessed with like so many different wingmen, as I say, to like really push me forward in that. And so, I was like, okay, let me get a producer. And I had an original producer, but then she had to take a leave. So I got another one. And I met my storyboard artist actually by chance. And I felt like it was a God-given chance in Seattle. Me and Pops were just strolling around by the Space Needle, and we just met 2 fraternity bros, and one of them was an artist, and we just chopped it up. And I needed one. I was like, let me call him first. I met my my right hand man, my writer, through another Discord. He's never come out with a film, and I'm someone that I want to put people on and do my best. And he actually took the meat and potatoes of the film and wrote it to perfection. My animator, well, she's a jack of all trades. She does pretty much everything. And you'll see when she comes out the greatness of her work. And my producer's been amazing as well, and she's had a hand in everything. And so the process, man, was like it wasn't all peaches and cream. A lot of it was like finances, like we're struggling. A lot of times I felt like I made impulsive decisions that set me back farther than what I initially planned for myself. A part of it was self-doubt because you're worried about, are people going to watch it? Are people going to like invest in it? Am I good enough as a creative to make this happen? And you develop a lot of crippling anxiety. Sometimes you get depressed about it, and it makes you determine your self-worth. And them geese are not playing.
No, they're not.
But you start to learn more about yourself, and you start to, it's almost like writing another Black Raven, but in a different format. And man, now that we're so close to the finish line and trying to get ready for film festivals, and I'm just ready to release this to the world, man, and have that started.
Yeah, and that was quite an interesting point about like self-doubt and things of that nature, because I find that whenever you post like a long scale project on social media, I think it's a little bit easier, right? Because that's just how social media is. It's easier to like reach people from a wide scale. But like when you release something out to like, your local theater or things of that nature, you kind of, you need the results and you need that to play a factor. But at the same time, I also learned that like people come out when people like want to come out, like people just appreciate the work more. And so I think that was like quite an interesting point that you made about just kind of the feeling of, grinding it out, because there's so many components at play, but you want to keep the creative, element to it.
Yeah. And I feel like people deal with it differently. Like, I feel like for the Martin Scorsese's and people like that, they may not feel as much pressure because they're so well established, but it's kind of like having your first kid, like, I don't have any kids, but when you have that first, like, I'm pretty sure when you created your first video for a rabbit's hole or your first interview, you were everything, you're dotting your I's, you're crossing your T's to make sure that everything went perfect.
Oh, yeah.
And even when you highlight, I'm gonna be real, a bigger artist than like, someone at that magnitude, you're making sure you're prepared, everything good, everything all gravy. So, I mean, compared to mine, where it's like, Black Raven being my first film and hopefully of many more, you're just nervous about how it's going to do. You're nervous if, we all want to create great things because we want to create it, but who wants to go on YouTube and they worked 2+ years for something? It's like, oh, I got 5 views.
Yeah.
That's a hard feeling.
No, I agree. And also another thing that comes into play is definitely the longevity of it. Like, I mean, if you look at A24 is definitely a studio that showcases the importance of longevity. I mean, releasing their first project, you can just kind of see how like it was able to like, polish over time, like fine wine. And then fast forward now, I think like just the release of, Smashing Machine, Marty Supreme, and with releasing upcoming films, there's definitely like the technical aspect of it, because I learned that like people really like attention to detail and they like aesthetics. I feel more than ever, people care about how things look, people care about how things are, thought out.
Because things are expensive nowadays.
Yeah, exactly. But I find that especially like with independent filmmaking, let alone like animated, those things play like such a huge factor, and it can be so hard. It can be so hard. So
yeah, it could be hard. Like I think like one of my biggest inspirations, Hayao Miyazaki from Studio Ghibli, he's always been consistent. I've read his books about how he storytells. I've watched documentaries. I've watched all the films. And just like whenever I'm watching a film, especially animated, I don't look at it from the perspective of like, oh, yeah, that's cool. Like, I look at it from the perspective like, how would I attack that type of problem? I look at it from that lens. And to back my point of Studio Ghibli, everything is handmade. Everything is it's like it's not instant ramen, you know, but it's you're you know, actually kind of cutting up the onions, cutting up the, you know, meat and putting it all, actually making the water. So everything is quality. And you know, that's what kind of keeps me in check with my work, is like, you know, I'm gonna create quality work rather than quantity, you know, like I give, like, for example, Travis Scott, like, credit. Like, he always comes out with quality projects. He never comes out with, like, just album after album. So I feel like quality is going to win over quantity any day.
Yeah, and I think music is a great example of that. You know, we're starting to see nowadays with hip-hop, hip-hop merging across various genres. And, you know, like, especially just listening to Travis Scott. I mean, personally for me, I started to like Travis Scott a little bit more once he started to explore those experimental traits. But now you have artists like Don Toliver. Need to think of some on top of my head, like things like that. Even Uzi, honestly, like Lil Uzi Vert, how he's experimenting with rock, and it's not like cliche. It's not like something that you're trying to do just to you know, please an audience. It's like they do it because they genuinely like to do it.
Yeah. I feel like creatives in a space right now, that's the main goal, that's the main mission, is to be experimental. It's kind of like
you have to
take a risk as a creative. Like, Black Raven was a risk. Like, it's not like I can't say that. It's not like I had, you know, it's like I said, it's not like I'm like a you know, a Netflix where I have a pool of money where I can just sacrifice a film. Like, oh, it went bad, okay, whatever, you know, like, kind of, it's like, you know, my bread and butter is from, you know, funds and etc. How independent creatives get their funding. So, you know, you hear about a lot of animation getting cut out and a lot of these projects getting delayed and cut.
Even the good ones, like Infinity Train got cut from HBO Max, and that was a really good show.
Yeah, no, like I've seen I think it was Rebecca Sugar's new project get canceled and stuff like that. So many great creatives and people I look up to, like the Rebecca Sugars and Ian Quarterleys and the Alex Hirsch, like, even establish them, like, they sometimes get their stuff cut. And so, you know, you have to be experimental. You have to keep pushing. You have to be ambitious. You have to be hungry and determined to not just release your project, but also it's kind of like one of those things where you send your kid off to college and you have to trust that they're in good hands.
Yeah, but I feel like I do agree with that. But I think like, you know, all these established creators who get their projects cut, like, do you think that's just the problem? Or I wouldn't say the problem, but more or less like the main challenge that animators go through is not even like necessarily the quality of the work. It's more like the opportunity, like just getting the opportunity, you know? Because I'm sure if people like would genuinely saw, for example, like Fiona the Cake, if people like would genuinely saw the show, you know, and they don't have to be familiar with plot, they don't have to be familiar with backstory, I'm sure that like people across all various of mediums will just appreciate it, you know? And I mean, I think that's just the challenges that animation go through.
I feel like I have sand behind my ears as far as like being in the world of animation. I have a love and I have appreciation for it, but I haven't been so in depth in the trenches of it to give my pinpoint. But as a current astute of the game, I feel like we're in a society now where everybody's comfortable with being comfortable, where it's like, we're not going to try that new restaurant across the street. You know, we're going to keep going to the same restaurant we've been going to for years because we know it's going to taste good. We know the quality is good. We have the data to prove that it's going to be good. The same way if we come out with I'll spin it in tech. If we come out with this new tech piece, right, we might be a bit weary on buying it compared to getting the latest iPhone or even a Pixel phone because we trust it and we trust that product. So in the world of animation, especially when dealing with box office, it's sometimes kind of hard for an original piece to get the same viewership or clout because people are going to go see the Minions, you know? So no diss to the Minions. I love the Minions. I just feel like we're in a state of being comfortable with what we know and, you know, not taking that leap of faith to be like, oh, I'm gonna try this new Thai restaurant, or oh, I'm gonna see this new movie. And especially in independent animation where it's heavily community based. Like, it is so community based, and I'm part of a bunch of Discords and my feeds with that, and I communicate with people in these spaces. You have to rely on community.
Absolutely.
Have to.
And I do want to like mention a point too that can play an important factor. Marketing is also another factor that goes into it. Because like, for example, like, and I mean, Pixar is releasing Hoppers. By the time this would come out, the movie will already been out.
Shout out Hoppers.
Yeah, shout out Hoppers. I'm really excited to see how it goes. But for me just being huge, like with Pixar films and being huge with just the overall landscape of it, you know, like they done a really good job of the marketing for Hoppers. But at the same time, it's a completely like independent film. It's a completely like brand new project. It's not like something that was brought up again. And, you know, I feel like scenarios like that where you do have the funding, you do have the marketing, and, you know, you have all those factors that go into play. I feel like animated films will honestly like go ahead and get massive reach.
Yeah, I feel like Pixar is well established, and, you know,
And they're established.
you know, the Disney Pixar branch is pretty, the nail is definitely in the ground for sure with them. And, you know, I feel like for a lot of like independent, you know, studios, because one day I want to come out with my own studio, I feel like marketing is huge. And the way it's kind of funny, I feel like human interaction is the one way marketing can get across. Like, sure, social media can definitely help, but all of us are on our phones scrolling, and we might say, oh, that's cool, but we don't save it. We just say it's cool.
We don't have a good attention span.
Yeah, I feel like human interaction, just like, you know, I'm introverted, so I'm not going to walk up to say, hey, I have a film coming out, but I feel like we humans, especially nowadays with everything going on, we crave human interaction. I feel like a lot of us are afraid to be the first person to do something weird, but even more, we're afraid to support that person doing that weird thing. You know, there was and it showed at my job, but there was a TED talk about a guy just doing a random dance. Like, he looked goofy, and it's easy to be that person, but it's even harder to be the person that joins him and does it.
Yeah.
And when that person joined him, everybody did it because it seemed normalized. So I feel like doing what you guys are doing, where you guys are actually in the trenches, actually out here doing interviews with people, getting to know them on a digging beyond the surface level of the concrete and getting into the roots of it is important. And I feel like a lot more independent creatives, a lot more independent animators can do the same.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like you said, like we've become so familiar with going to the same restaurant because we know that like it's going to taste good, and we're very familiar with employees and things of that nature. Yeah. It's kind of like breaking out of that mold where you explore various topics, and you know, like I firmly stand on it, but I believe that like more creative should really look like, if you have like a base, right? And this is just one of my pieces of advice. Like, if you have a base, right? Let's just say you're a musician, right? Pretty simple to explore various topics, you know, explore various genres. But I feel like as a creative, I feel like you have to take bits and pieces off of various topics, not like add them to your palette. I mean, if you feel like it's applicable, then yes, add it. But I feel like it's more important to just really explore and expand past your horizon, you know, because that's how you grow. That's how you blossom. Yeah,
it's better to be intermediate with a bow, shield, and sword than a beginner with just a shield.
Yeah.
You have to have multiple... You have to be a healer, a defender, an attacker. You can't just be a defender. You have to be able to expand your palette. And even for me, I don't want to just write like children's films my entire life. You know, as grateful as I am to be in that space, I feel like I'm not trying to sound like that guy, but I feel like there's so much talent that I have, and so much talent in the world of animation, in the world of regular filmmaking, that I can create any type of film I can create. And it's not downplaying the roadmap to making a film. It's more of like, you have to, I feel like if you want to stay in that bubble of being just, you know, these are the type of films I create, or these are the type of albums I create, or whatever, that works for you. That's totally fine. But I know for me, I want to be someone that expands. Like, I want to write I'm not writing comedy or sci-fi. I'm not funny, and I don't want people to be in a rocket ship for their entire lives. But I'll create a horror film. I would create a romance. I would create a drama. I would create a slice of life. I have like random story vomit that I just write on my phone whenever I'm driving, and I don't text and drive, so don't do that. But yeah, you get my point. So I feel like you have to be very experimental, and all the greatest creatives are experimental. All of them are. Like, you can't name one person that's like, oh, they're very abnormal, that isn't a true person to their craft, and that isn't someone that has tried to just be different.
Yeah, I agree with that. And, like we talked a lot about filmmaking, we talked a lot about the process, but outside of that, like, what else inspires you? What else like pushes you as a creative?
That's a good question. I appreciate it. Man, sometimes you have to keep yourself in check, because I know for all those people that are creatives and that work 9 to 5s, like sometimes it's hard to switch that brain and switch that mode. And sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, like it's not something I do every day or like all the time. It's not like a sport where you have to consistently do it to get the reps. And like creativity for me is something where it's like, if I'm in the mood to do it, I'm gonna do it for sure. But to answer your question and not be long-winded, I feel like being around the things I love is one for start, like whether it be like my girlfriend, family, friends, just birds. Yeah, I love birds, bro. I love birds. Being around those things, it gives me a sense of peace. I feel like really depends on the type of mood I am. If I'm in the mood of like writing this latest book series I'm working on, which will be announced hopefully sometime soon, watching shows that are related to that, or even just things that relate to the films I'm working on, or just, getting out of my bubble and going to a theater, and really getting my bucket of popcorn, scanning my AMC Stubs account, and just sitting there and not being on my phone and enjoying a movie, or I like car rides, so I get my best ideas when I'm like driving, or like I'm a passenger and I'm like, okay, like I could do something like that, or I want to do something like that.
Exploring the scenery.
Yeah, like I'm not someone that has to move around and to think. Like I sometimes like sitting still and just sitting here it's easier now that I'm an adult, but when I was a kid, like I have to.
You have to be out.
Yeah, I have to be outside. I have to walk. I have to like move my mind and move my body. So
Nickelodeon Day of Play, when you're forced to go outside, you have to go outside.
Yeah, I think it always happened during like peak allergies too. So like, yeah, I would just stay at home and not watch TV, bro.
Yeah.
Like when I say these allergies are wicked, they're pretty not fun.
Yeah, and just to tie everything together, let's just say you have, a creative or someone that's trying to get started on the path that you're setting yourself on. What will be some pieces of advice that you can give them?
Oh, man. First of all, if they're coming to me for advice, I always tell people, like always, like I have people that I mentor. I say, yeah, take what I say and run with it if you feel like it relates to you. But I'll also hook you up with someone else that's way more experienced. And that's the part I said in the beginning, where you have to take your knowledge from different sources and apply it into your toolkit. But the first thing I would say is like, it depends on what industry you're doing. Like I would say remain focused, but also remain humble. When you get the success and when you get the accolades and you get the clout, it's easy to derail your focus, and you focus only on the success and focus on the accolades. And when you lose that focus, the work is gonna like lose its quality. So I'll just say stay focused. And this is advice I tell myself, like stay patient. Mm-hmm. Like you have to stay patient, bro, in this life. Like you can't expect instant ramen to taste like it was made solely like grinding it out like it was in Japan. Like you have to be patient. You have to remain stoic in the mindset of like it's going to work out one way or another. It's going to work out. For those that have faith, keep your faith strong. If you don't have faith, that's okay. Remain grounded in something. It can be the earth. It can be your own intuition. You have to stay grounded. Learn. Always be in the process of learning, bro. Like the smartest people on earth are the ones that ask the most questions. So if you're asking questions, that means you're you're opening yourself up to learning. Surround yourself with good people. Don't just surround yourself with successful people that have made it. Surround yourself with good people that haven't made it, because it's a good balance. It's a good balance for you. You know, if you have the people that have made it, you can learn from their failures.
Yeah.
But if you have people that have not made it yet, you're going to learn about their hunger to be successful. And I guess my final nugget is just do it, bro. Like, I'm not the shy with buff meme. It's not what I'm doing. I'm not doing the shy with buff meme. But man, if you just have a passion for it, bro, like, and you have that hunger and you have that ambition and you feel it in your belly, like, just take that chance, you know? Make sure you're prepared, you know? Don't do a me where it's like you're acting on, like, just impulse. Make sure all your ducks are aligned. Make sure that you have a game plan. And if everything checks the box, like, okay, my finances are good, my team is good, and everything is good, then just take that leap of faith, bro, because your ceiling is much more obtainable than your failure.
Devon, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, and I want to shout out a few people. This is so black of me, but I want to shout out the Black Raven team, bro. If you are watching this, man, like, and you know who you are, I'm so proud of your work. I'm so proud of your work. I'm so humbled. I'm so dedicated that you're doing this. And I want to shout out on the side of Arabbitshole for allowing me to have this opportunity. This is like one of my first interviews, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity. Thank you.
Keep digging deeper.
Keep digging deeper.